Let's continue to hear from Dawkins and Krauss on now religion and politics.
Complain about, and this is very laudable. But going back to the doctor, the hypothetical doctor, and the astronomer, if you knew that one of the candidates that you're contemplating voting for believed that in the 19th century a man called Joseph Smith dug up some golden tablets.
Okay, now he's gonna talk about Mormonism and etc. But the point is that they seem to be saying that you should be discriminated based on your religious beliefs, because he's gonna say, if you believe that this person says that he's not gonna intervene he's not gonna let his religious beliefs intervene on his leading of the country, you should not vote for him. And that's, I mean, okay, that's fine, you can say that you should not vote for him, but it seems to be implicit here, and you will see this more, this idea that you should even uh, prohibit them from trying to be presidents and things like that. And I think that's obviously wrong. We live in a democratic society of freedom, and anyone, it doesn't matter if they are Christian, atheists, Muslims, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Zoroastrians, Confucianists, Hindus, Buddhists, they can all apply. They all have the same rights. Now they're gonna make a good point. Now this is important, listen, because it's rare.
With several members of the Vatican, and I asked if they believed in the virgin birth, and I couldn't get an answer from them, which amazed me. I mean, because in fact, I think we both agree that most people what people want to do is they want to believe, to take a line from the X-Files, they want to believe in believing. And so most people who of faith, I think, in our society, naturally pick and choose from the doctrine those things they find absolutely ridiculous and throw out.
Yeah.
And the question is, and the Pope would say that's not palatable, and I would tend to agree with the Pope. I think if you can't believe some of the stuff and you need to throw it out, just forget the whole thing.
Now with that I agree. I think that you cannot just, I mean, not in that absolute sense that if you cannot believe in some particular thing, I mean, you should throw the whole thing out, because but if you are skeptic about some very important doctrines, like the virgin birth is very important, or the resurrection, or things like that, it doesn't really make sense to believe in Christianity anymore. So I think you should not just pick and choose. I mean, this is a systematic belief. So either you believe in the general picture or you don't believe in anything. Then there are some minor doctrines that you can believe or not believe. And like, is the millennial kingdom literally 1,000 years or not? Is Genesis 1 literally true? The account of creation, is it a literal account or metaphorical account? Things like that. Is transubstantiation real or not? I mean, those things are not essential to Christianity. They are some sort of more peripheral doctrines. They are central to some denominations of Christianity, but not to Christianity in general. But now they're gonna do a bad point after this one, unfortunately. So here, the Pope, and Dawkins and Krauss agree, which is kind of a curious thing.
That would be my view, and I suspect that well, there are 535 members of the U.S. Congress. One has said that he doesn't believe in the supreme being. That's statistically not possible. I mean, a fair number of those members of Congress presumably have had some sort of education.
Now, this is Dawkins' arrogance and fanatism in his most high degree. He has a statistic, a real statistic about someone, and he rejects it because he can't possibly believe that educated people can be Christians. So since they are not Christians and since they are educated, then they must be lying. I mean, that's one of the most forced beliefs on the reality that I ever, like, forcing your belief system on reality. You have an actual data, an actual unambiguous, you have a fact and you deny it. You accuse people of lying because you believe that atheism and scientism, which means truth only comes from science. I'm not a scientism person, but I believe in science, but not in scientism, because scientism says that the only way you can know truth is science, and I believe science is a way to truth, but not the only one. Uh, Philosophy, theology, etc. are ways to truth as well, and much more things. And Dawkins here also says that religion and education are incompatible. He seems to be saying that, which is clearly absurd, because there are many scientists with PhDs, even in his own field of biology, that are Christians, Orthodox Christians.
Presumably have had some sort of
Let's
education.
continue hearing him.
I mean, it's not obvious.
Look at what he's going to say
Not
now.
all, but
It's so horrible.
But, you know,
remember, there have got to be a very substantial number of atheistic members of the United States Congress, probably more than a couple of hundred would be my guess, and yet they cannot admit it. So in order to get elected, you have got to lie about your beliefs.
and I think that's right. And I think
They are accusing the people of the United States Congress of being hypocrites and liars just because they say they are Christians. According to Dawkins, there have to be lots of atheists because atheism and uh, and rationality must be incompatible, and the people in the Congress must be are educated, so they must not believe in God because Dawkins and his fanatism demands it. So he's gonna deny the data and he's gonna call liars and hypocrites to the members of the United States Congress. Now that to me doesn't make any sense. Now they are going to proceed
That seems to me to be
in
an adequate
defamation and
explanation
slandering.
for why so many members of the United States Congress are obviously lying about their private beliefs. I mean, if you're on a par with rapists, then
it doesn't seem to.
Cross said that atheists are amongst the most distrusted people, a pair with rapists, according to some statistic.
So, I mean, I suspect that we've already had in this country quite a number of atheist presidents. I suspect
Thomas Jefferson probably was in a way.
yes. Well, in the 18th century, that was before Darwin. It was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if Kennedy was an atheist. It wouldn't surprise me if Clinton was an atheist. It wouldn't surprise me if Obama was an atheist. But you cannot admit it, or you simply don't get elected. I would like to start a campaign for what they call lame duck presidents and senators and people to say, oh, yeah, I'm not standing for election anymore. I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist all along.
Now, this is ridiculous. He's saying that Dawkins and Krauss are calling Congressmen Obama, Kennedy, and Clinton liars. He accuses Christians to force their beliefs on the world. But what about that? What about saying that just because you think that some person is educated, that educated people cannot be Christians, then therefore if they say they are Christians, they are lying? That's one of the most absurd things I ever heard in my life. And they are stating it here.
So at least the question, just questioning the existence of a deity, doesn't become akin in our society to being evil, to being just someone you don't trust. That just questioning, which is really the basis of science, which is at the basis of progress, should be something we revere rather than revile.
I agree with that. We should question the existence of God. But when we do that, we will understand that he exists, in my opinion. I think that's where the argument goes to. But I agree with Krauss. We should question the existence of God, and I don't see any problem with that at all. It actually makes your faith stronger. I started to question the existence of God, and now my faith is stronger than when I first questioned the existence of God, which is quite nice. Now they proceed to the Q&A, and let's see what the first person to ask a question was a Christian. Now you will see how they will treat him.
Arizona State University. I did my doctorate in religious studies at Trinity Seminary. So I really enjoy the opportunity to come in and hearing you, Dr. Dawkins. I studied a lot, and Lawrence, this is my first time I've heard you, but thank you for your sharing as well. My main argument or critique.
You have a question?
Yes, this is it, and it's based upon my main critique.
Okay.
My main critique is I don't think that it's necessary to join together a scientific inquiry, regardless of how speculative or dramatic it may be, with an atheistic proposition.
Of course it's not.
I'm not a scientist. I know several scientists. I've interviewed them from here and elsewhere, as you have. And here's my observation. As long as scientific inquiry is possible, which would be as long as matter exists, there can never be ultimate proof of God's non-existence. And I think, Dr. Lawrence, you were making that observation a little bit more, but I just want to end it with this little statement, and this is Hebrews 11:2. Believe it or not.
Well, okay. I think you made your point.
You see?
I think you
Respect,
made your point.
freedom of speech is nice.
I'll respond to this one. Does that sound good? Or you could take a crack at it too. But let me just point out. I agree, as I said before, that personally, that obviously we can't. There are limits to our knowledge, and by knowledge I mean empirical knowledge, because for me that's the only kind of knowledge. But
just so silly.
There's a famous biologist whose name I can't remember, and
That's self-refuting, because Krauss's own statement that the empirical knowledge is the only kind of knowledge was not attained by empirical evidence, so we should reject it because it's not knowledge at all. So his position is incoherent, but never mind that.
I remember, who said, when I go into the laboratory, I behave as if I'm an atheist. I don't think there's someone twiddling the dials or determining the results of my experiment other than so all my physical effects come from physical causes. And so
yeah, that's called methodological naturalism, and it's quite an acceptable position.
Actually, the key thing about science and God is that God is irrelevant to science. I think that's what people. Another thing that Steve Weinberg said is that. Well,
no, he's not.
Hold on. The good thing is I'm up here, so I get to talk. But
you see, rudeness, arrogance.
What Weinberg said, which I think is really important, is that my mind just went because you brought it up and I had to be rude to you.
You see, he didn't really answer the question. The question was not really answered. He just said that it was irrelevant to science again, and the Christian was shut and he was despised. He could not. Krauss was extremely rude with him, and he could not even show a quote from the book of Hebrews. So freedom of speech, tolerance, and non-discriminations are things I stand for, but they didn't display it here. And this is not an ad hominem argument, because I don't believe that just because they did these things, therefore atheism is false. But I think that this is a critique of them, because of their particular approach to atheistic apologetics. And I'm just going to show you the verse that the guy was talking about. Hebrews 11:1-3. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen, for by it the men of old gained approval. By faith we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things which are visible. It was made by God. Krauss is talking about an episode that happened when he was debating in the Southern Baptist Coalition.
I couldn't get a word in edgewise. Clearly I got yelled down. But I did make a single statement, which was said without interruption, happily. And it was that you don't have to be an atheist to accept evolution.
Krauss is the one interrupting people all the time.
I got more mail from people who accused me, in fact, of being humble, which was the first time I'd gotten that. But people who have been told every week in church and everywhere else that science is akin to atheism. And I think the point we've made is that atheism is irrelevant, that God is irrelevant to science. That evolution happened regardless of what you believe. So I think that single statement, even though I felt intellectually raped after that program, was worth going on the program and saying, because I think that's the kind of thing we need to counter, those lies about science.
I quite like to just sort of disagree with Lawrence for the first time this evening. I quite like the idea that people are being taught in their churches that evolution is incompatible with God.
so that you can strawman their beliefs. I mean, I'm gonna continue that